Lager Pro, just kind of briefly. So here's what the calculations look like. And some of you who are following me on Twitter know that I actually, before class started, threw this out there. So this is out there ready to go. So your first calculation is to calculate in your A, B, C, and D, those sugar waters, calculate the weight percent sucrose. So now I was at my desk, I'm like, now how do I explain that? But if you look at your data, okay, if we kind of look at it together, remember you guys are putting numbers where there's X's, right? So basically, if you look at, it says mass of sugar, it's that first one divided by mass of sugar and water. It's that second one, okay? Yep. Times 100% to get to parts per 100. Not too bad. Okay, do this for all of each solution. Okay, then the next step is, or the next calculation is to calculate the density of water. And so that was where basically you grabbed some water, took it back to your station. You already had your 50 ml beaker torn out. You transferred a 10 milliliter aliquot and you have a mass. So of course that is like this number right here, right? That's your grams of water. You actually, for all of your densities, you have a bunch of masses that was in your 50 ml beaker. Then all you have to do to get density is to take that mass and divide it by the volume of your pipette, which is 10.00 milliliters. That's what you're going to be doing. Taking the mass of those aliquots divided by the volume of your pipette. All right. The third calculation is basically like the second calculation, but you're going to do it for your sugar solutions. So for sugar solution A, you take the mass of the 10 milliliter aliquot of your transferred A solution divided by 10.00 milliliters and do that for all of them. Question number 4. Now we get to use Lager Pro, and I'm going to show you in a minute how we make this graph. Sometimes students, I think, say, I don't need Lager Pro to make a graph. I can make a graph, and there's all sorts of, that's great ways of making graphs. But Lager Pro actually is going to help us down the road. When we, Lager Pro will be great at sucking in data that we collect on these things we call lab quests, and it just is. It interfaces great, so you will need to use that. So using Lager Pro, you're going to create a graph kind of like this. Notice along the y-axis I have density. Along the x-axis I have weight percent sucrose. There actually will be 5 points because the first point is your pure water, which is 0% sucrose. And then A, B, C, and D, it gets more and more higher weight percent. It should get more and more denser. It should get more and more dense. Okay. 5 says to go ahead and draw a regression line, and I'll show you here in a minute how you have Lager Pro draw in that green line. Okay, it should be a linear fit. Okay. That's number 5. Number 6 now turns your attention to your unknowns. Number 6, you're supposed to knock out the density of your unknowns just like you knocked out the densities for your water and your sugar solutions. By taking the mass of that aliquot and dividing it by the pipette volume. Okay, grams divided by volume. Unknown 1 and unknown 2, that's calculation 6. You'll do it back on the paper. Calculation 7 now you'll refer to your graph. So what we're doing with your graph is using it as a calibration curve basically. So what you have in calculation 6 are densities. We're going to actually find that density along, and usually you can do this in Lager Pro or you can just do it, print out the graph and do it by hand, either way. So you're going to find the density on here and then you're going to see where it intersects with your calibration curve and come down and knock off the weight percent. Okay, so that's the like coup de grace of this lab, is what is the weight percent in unknown 1 and unknown 2. Okay, so here I found a density for number 1. I came across, saw where it intersected with my calibration curve, came down here, that's the weight percent. Okay, bada boom, that is the weight percent for 1. Okay.
We can also use Lager Pro to do that as well.
You can make Lager Pro do this, or you can just print out a hard copy because you're, yeah, and then just do it in there. But I'll kind of show you how to do both, or do it with Lager Pro, and then do this for your second unknown. So you have 2 unknowns. So that should be marked on your graph. One of the things, when I'm trying to kind of tell you what should be in your reports, you should in your report somewhere at the bottom when you say discuss the results, you should tell me what the weight percent of your two unknowns are. That to me is kind of why you're doing this lab. Okay. Any questions? Well, let's take a look at Logger Pro. Now I have some, oops, I already had it open. I have some fake data, and I'm going to kind of have my back to you, so I hope this works. Switch to running application. Dun, dun, dun. Meet Logger Pro. Okay. Some of you already met Logger Pro. So over in the X and Y, I've got some data here I'm going to go ahead and throw in. Remember we said that our X is going to be weight percent and our Y is going to be density. So I'm going to go ahead and put in water is 0 weight percent, density 1. And I'll show you in a minute to how you fix these. Okay, so notice that it's not giving me the right number of sig figs. Okay, for A, I picked a weight percent of 12.3, I don't know. Okay, density 1.0032. Okay, for B, I picked a weight percent of 25.6. Okay, corresponding density 1.0067. Okay, C, 38.2 weight percent. Density 1.008. I'm curious to see what this data looks like. For D, 41.5% sucrose and a density of 1.103. Okay, so there are my points, and you can see that Logger Pro went ahead and put it on my points. Now that graph stinks, right? What's wrong with that graph for once? One thing. My scale is terrible. Okay. So let's kind of look at how we're going to fix that. So we're going to also have to make it so it says what? Weight percent and density. Okay, we need to fix that. So kind of look how I'm doing this. You can't break it. It used to be when they gave you a program like this, you could really screw it up. Nowadays, you're like, you can't accidentally do anything. I don't think. So let's go ahead and fix our axes. Okay, so X, do you see where I'm clicking up there? And notice it opened up the stuff for the x-axis. We're going to call that weight percent. And I'll call it percent for short. Or I'll call it weight percent for short. That's not very long, is it? Okay. Now, under options. If I click under options, do you see where I can go ahead and tell it if I want to round automatically by decimals or automatically by sig figs? Let's just go ahead and go with, let's go with sig figs. Okay. All right, that stuff looks okay to me. I'm going to say done. Okay. Where I really need to get my sig fig working is this one. This, of course, is our density. So over, I'm going to change the name to density. Okay, density. Now I'm for sure going to put units here. My units are going to be grams per milliliter, G/ml. And under options, I'm going to go ahead and tell it sig figs. Go ahead and give me 5. I'm not sure what you'll end up with, but that sounds right to me. That's starting to look a little better. The graph still sucks. We're getting to that. A few things, though, is now our axes look okay, but we do need a title. So let's go over here, and I'm going to do a right-click on my graph, and I'm going to get some graph options. One of those options is title. Like kind of some hints for doing graphs. It's if you want a good title for your graph, it's Y versus X. Okay, so in this case, it would be density. This will show up. Density versus VS for versus weight percent. All right, so that looks okay. That's going to show up here in a minute. While I'm here, I'm going to do a few other things. Okay, I'm going to go click under Axis Options, And notice here, I can go ahead and make my scaling better. So I'm gonna go ahead and do an auto scale there, and we'll see if that does what we want to. If we don't get the right auto scaling, I'm gonna come back and fix it, but I think that should do better for us. Let's see what it looks like now. Oh boy, it still doesn't look very good. What do I got? 1 point, oh, I know. This guy, I'm gonna come fix this one. See this point up here? These were kind of bokehs anyway. This is not good. I'm gonna fix this one, bring it, reel it in, and we should be a lot better there. Oh, 103. All right, I'm feeling better about that. Graphs, the rule of thumb is you want basically all of your graph paper to be used up. That looks okay. Notice one of the things is you want point protectors, and by default it comes with a little red circle. That's your point protector. So that's pretty good. I don't think it's going to be a very good correlation coefficient linear fit because it's a little scattered, but that's okay. Be proud of your data. I hope you guys do better than I did. So this is close. Now that one step was at 5 maybe where you have to draw the green line. So you can do it a few ways. I'm going to go do it the old-timey way, which is basically going to pull down from the word menu, but I bet one of those icons would do it for us too. All right, so I'm going to go analyze linear fit, just because I know I can. Okay. Oh, it says select points. I've never had to do that before. Analyze. Okay. Let's do it this way. Oops. Now what's it doing? I'm going to mark the data somehow, and then I'm going to say analyze linear fit. Whew. Okay. Now that looks good. So now you see the line's been drawn. The reason it's gray is because it's all selected. I can click somewhere else and it's going to go off of gray. So gray is okay. So this actually is what I'm looking for when you turn something in. This is what I'm looking for, exactly. Well, plus or minus. So I need to have these labeled, so I labeled those. I need a title here. Okay, I need the points with point protectors. Now one of the things I have students sometimes when they turn in is they have turned on something called kind of what I call dot to dot. And you want to turn off that feature. It's also in the graph options. So don't connect these points. Okay, it should look something very much like this. Questions? So let's go look one more thing at this. You can print this off, then you can actually find the density of your unknowns and then find where it intersects to pick off the weight percent for your unknowns. Or you can use something called, it's also under Analyze. Okay, do you see interpolate? Okay, interpolate. There's a interpolate and extrapolate. Interpolate means basically your calibration curve contains your thing of interest. Extrapolate, not so much. So when I do that, do you see where I get crossbars here? So when I move this, okay, what it's doing up here in this corner is basically giving me that point on the line. So the way this works, let's just say I got a density of 1.0070. That's the density of one of my unknowns, 1.0070. Okay, I come over here and actually I can pick off the weight percent is 29.37. So 1.0070. Okay, it's telling me that it's 29.37. So this is how actually you can have Logger Pro kick it out for you. Or you can go ahead and get out a straight edge and do that. Okay? So now you're going to have to play around with how you get this printed. Let me know if you run into any snags. Leave yourself a little extra time. Okay? So printing can kind of be interesting. But I'm pretty sure you can capture this and print this too. All right? Cool. I look forward to reading those reports. So, goggles on.